K98talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98talk.com.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny.
You know what time it is, so sit back and get ready for the Stafford Voice, your dose of conservative in a world of liberal.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, how you doing? I am your host, Daniel Stafford, and you are listening to the Stafford Voice, where we are conservative in a world of liberal. And tonight, well, you know, life tends to get in the way. Things happen, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. I've got actually a funny story that I ran across, and we're going to talk a little bit about Hillary Clinton. So, first, before we get to that, I want to remind you there are many, many ways to listen. So, set the channel as a favorite, whatever you have to do, so you don't get left behind. And if for some strange, crazy reason you do miss this show, you can catch the replay. So just sit tight. There is no need to panic, because I got you. And in the case you aren't already following on social media, find me on Twitter at Stafford Voice, as well as on Facebook. All you have to do is search for the Stafford Voice. While you're on the Facebooks, do us a little favor and follow Politainment as well. All you got to do is just click the little like button. And hell, while you're out on the interwebs, head on over to Twitter and follow Politainment as well as everybody else in the Politainment group. And make sure you send some love to the station. These guys rock. I absolutely love these guys. I mean, like I said earlier, I was feeling a little down. Feeling kind of pissy, actually. Because like I said, life tends to get in the way. Stuff happens. And, next thing you know, you're doing that's the funny thing with life. It tends to throw you a curveball. Now, I don't understand the first thing about sports. Every now and then I will get a wild hair up my butt, and I will try and watch a game, whether it's basketball, baseball, soccer, whatever. It doesn't matter. And, like we had talked about last week, I really like the Olympics. I mean, there's just something about the games that you watch and watching countries come together. There's just something about it. And over the last couple of days, we've had a couple of, depends on how you want to look at it. You could look at them as curveballs. You could look at them as a fastball. I mean, one of them was just straight down the middle. It was a strike, and that was Ted Cruz. And then you throw in Rand Paul. Well, that's kind of like a knuckleball. I mean, we can go on and on about Rand Paul. I mean, he's a nice guy. I have not had the personal luxury of sitting down and talking to him. I really hope that one of these days we're going to be able to get him, Ted Cruz, and a handful of other people on the air, because I've got a long list of questions that I know you guys would really like to ask as well. Speaking of questions, I need a favor from all of you guys. Here's what I need. I need you to go over to politainment.net. Do me a favor. I need you to vote on one simple little question. And it's just one of those things that it gets a lot of people buzzing about it. I mean, it has to do with legalizing marijuana. Doesn't matter what you want to call it. You want to call it weed, you want to call it marijuana, you want to call it cannabis, I don't care. I'm going to call it marijuana because it kind of umbrellas everything. It kind of encompasses all of them. So, should we legalize marijuana? Yes or no? It's as simple as that. While you're there and you click either yes or no, do me a favor. In the comments section, please explain your vote. You can remain anonymous if you wish to. That's fine. But it's going to kind of help me get my mind situated and get a really good feel about where you guys are. Because next week, if you haven't looked at a calendar, next week, Monday night, is April 20th. It is a pot smoker's dream day. I mean, I think I know a couple of guys that take the day off just so they can elaborate and just toke them all to hell. But that's what I want from you. I want you to go out and answer that silly little question. Should we legalize marijuana? Yes or no? Now let's kind of get into things and let's talk about this curveball that we were thrown yesterday. I mean, we knew, maybe you could call it a change-up because you kind of knew what was getting ready to happen. And forgive me if I'm using the wrong baseball terms. Hell, my throw would look worse than Barack Obama's, and that's pretty bad. But yesterday, Hillary Clinton rolls out this ad. I kind of put together a montage earlier tonight as I was trying to prepare for the show, and I want to share that with you. So, without further ado, here you go.
It's 3 a.m. and your children are safe and asleep. But there's a phone in the White House and it's ringing. Something's happening in the world. Your vote will decide who answers that call.
Hello, I'm back! I'm getting ready to do something too. I'm running for president. Americans have fought their way back from tough economic times, but the deck is still stacked in favor of those at the top. I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy. Everyday Americans need a champion, and I want to be that champion.
She was an outstanding Secretary of State. She is my friend. I think she would be an excellent president.
That's right. Nobody wants you in this town. Nobody wants you around, period.
What difference at this point does it make?
Exactly. What difference does it make? Listen, Hillary, nobody wants you around. Nobody wants another damn Clinton in Washington. Nobody wants another Bush in the White House. No Bush for Clinton. I mean, no Bush or Clinton, okay? The last thing we need is Bill Clinton in the Oval Office again, because after all, he does know all the ins and the outs of that little office. But listen, we were warned about people like Hillary Clinton from a guy you may have heard before. His name was Thomas Jefferson. And back in 1785, he was trying to warn us about elective despotism. Now, it's kind of a lengthy quote, but I think it kind of explains a couple of things that I want to touch on. He says, "Mankind soon learned to make interested uses of every right and power which they possess, or may assume. The public money and public liberty intended to have been deposited with three branches of magistracy. Gee, Christmas. But found inadvertently to be in the hands of one only, will soon be discovered to be sources of wealth and dominion to those who hold them. They, the assembly, should look forward to a time, and that not a distant one, when a corruption in this, as in the country from which we derive our origin, will have seized the heads of government, and be spread by them through the body of the people, when they will purchase the voices of the people, and make them pay the price. Human nature is the same on every side of the Atlantic, and will be alike influenced by the same causes. The time to guard against corruption and tyranny is before they shall have gotten hold of us. It is better to keep the wolf out of the fold than to trust to drawing his teeth and talons after he shall have entered. Okay, so let's kind of break that down and figure out what the hell Hillary Clinton has to do with all of that. Back in 2012, if you remember, one of the biggest things that we need that apparently needed to be talked about was how much was going to be talked. There was a lot of talk about how much money was being spent. And we've touched on this before about buying office. Buying your way into office or feeling entitled that it is your turn next. Let's just think for a second. Hillary Clinton honestly thinks that this is her chance. She's going to be a champion. She thinks she is going to champion the next middle-class movement. Albeit on the back of about $2 billion that she's already talked about how much. That's the number that has been thrown out, saying that she needs in order to win the White House. $2 billion. How does that represent the middle class at all? Now, if you've seen, I know you've probably seen it. You've probably seen the stupid little 2-minute video. When I saw it, I actually thought that it was the start of a commercial to something. Whether it was like insurance or something like that, who in the hell knows? You watched this little video that came out yesterday. Why she rolled this out on a Sunday. I mean, if you would have asked me, I would have thought it would have been funny as hell, and it would have been a crack of her making fun of herself. Personally, I don't mind making fun of myself or making a fool of myself. Hell, I get on here and do it all the time. If she would have done that at like 3 o'clock in the morning and kind of rolled back to that 3 a.m. phone call idea, that would have been hilarious. Just downright hilarious. Now, that might have caught my attention. It's like, hey, whoa, well, that's pretty freaking funny. But if you watch that video again, she tries to picture herself as, she tries to paint herself as being in touch with the middle class. She's talked about that before. About how she's come from nothing and now look where she's at. Well, yeah, you're the elite 1% You go around making speeches for $250,000 left and right. Your husband does the same thing. So who is the joke really on? Is the joke on us or is the joke on her? She doesn't represent the middle class. She doesn't represent the single working mom who's struggling, living on food stamps, trying to make a living. More on that a little later. She doesn't represent the young kid that's working in a factory, making minimum wage, trying to figure out how he's going to move up in society. Or how he's going to be able to pay for college. Because we all know that the next best thing in life is 2 years of free community college. That's going to work out great. Hopefully she doesn't want to champion that. And speaking of which, what in the hell has she done anyway? You saw that man on the street type thing where they were out asking her what she, these were supporters. Hillary Clinton supporters, and they were asked, can you name one accomplishment that really stands out to you? They couldn't name a single friggin' one of them. I wonder if maybe we could ask Chris Stevens if, maybe we could ask him how one of her accomplishments. Or is it too soon for that? at least her logo looks more like a hospital H instead of one that was painted in blood. And the funny thing about her little logo thing, I mean, if you turn it on its side, the arrow points up, and if it said in the red arrow, why did she pick a red arrow? I mean, and it's, anyway, you could sit and break down her logo for hours on end. But the funniest one that I've seen that people parodied was her logo that said "I'm with stupid." That was just hilarious. And one of the other ones I saw that was absolutely hilarious. And if you don't follow her, well, I don't know what's wrong with you. You're probably living under a rock. And if you're living under a rock, I don't know how you're listening to this, but our favorite bunny of all, Sam, Polita Bunny, put one out there where it said "ha ha ha," and it used an A that was real similar to the H, to the style of H that was used, but I thought that was funny. I mean, that's just kind of encompasses what she is. She's a joke. Just like, I mean, some of those things just make you scratch your head and wonder what in the hell is wrong with people. But the other thing, she tries to paint herself as middle class. I don't know anybody in the middle class who has a child, has a daughter or son, who owns a $10 million apartment. I don't know anybody out there in the middle class that has been able to fund a $3 million wedding. I don't even think Hillary Clinton could name an accomplishment. I mean, if your best accomplishment is Chelsea Clinton, okay, whatever. But that's her only accomplishment. It really is. That's really, really sad. What's sad is she really honestly believes this is her shot. And there's even a couple of people out there who are talking about age and how age is a factor. Well, you can't help but talk about age and not talk about the fact that, and totally dismiss the fact that she's a woman. One thing that happens as you get older, as women get older, one of the things that happens is menopause. And if you were to say you would rather have a younger Hillary Clinton running, can you just imagine what would happen if she was sitting at the negotiation at the table trying to negotiate a deal with Iran or Russia or North Korea or Saudi Arabia? Can you imagine if she was trying to negotiate a deal and all of a sudden she just flipped and hit the reset button and launched a missile because she just went nuts? Can you imagine? So maybe it's a good thing she is a little older. I don't know that she's gotten wiser in her age, because it was just a few years ago where she was trying to do a southern accent, and wow, we know how bad that was. She tries to connect on so many different levels, and it just shows how far her disconnect is from the likes of you and I. She doesn't understand. She really doesn't. Now, we're going to take a short little break and come back, and let's talk about how life tends to get in the way of things. I'm your host, Daniel Stafford. I'll be right back.
If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan. This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you've got a business, you didn't build that.
The feeling most people get when they hear Barack Obama's speech, I felt this thrill going up my leg. I don't have that too often.
Steady.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. Ricky Robinson, host of America Off the Rails, will tackle the important issues facing America today as he tries to keep America from coming off the track. Get ready to hear the truth every Monday through Friday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, and on Saturdays at 12 p.m. Eastern and 11 Central here on K98Talk.com and the Spark Radio Network.
They do. As a distinguished gentleman, I need a serious source of news. One that doesn't waste my time when I'm enjoying my tea and crumpets.
White powdered! White powdered!
One that catches the most important stories of the day.
The poop plane.
Was it jet poop? Real serious nonsense. Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, now on K98 Talk.
I'm gonna just move in another direction towards the classy.
We'll be classy and not say dildo.
They're completely different from shows that aren't.
Back when he was in grade school, the only crayons he ever cared about were the red one, the white one, and the blue one.
The Stafford Voice.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again. I am your host, Daniel Stafford, and you are listening to the Stafford Voice, where, yes, we are conservative in a world of liberal. Trust me, you are not the only one. We just have to stick together, because the last thing we need is liberals grabbing a hold of you and brainwashing you. You have to stay educated. And one way you can do that is reading. I myself love to read. I really do. I actually started I have a couple of days this week where I'm actually able to hold on to a book in my hands, and I'm super excited. It's a religious book, but it talks about how God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I'm really excited to jump into it. But this was just one of those ones you can't read on the go. I'm always on the go. I can't remember the last time I was able to sit down with a book in my hand and read. It was so long ago. But because I'm so busy, one thing I can do is pick up my smartphone, or I can grab my tablet, because I've got a subscription to Audible.com. I can be driving, I can be cutting the grass, going to the bathroom. Okay, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that. But look, you can get caught up on all the great books you want to read but can't. And if you're like me and you love to read, you don't have time, then you, my friend, need a subscription to Audible.com. As a listener to the Politainment Group, you qualify for a free 30 days, no strings attached trial. And you get a free book. And since Audible is part of Amazon, there are like hundreds of thousands of books to choose from. And there's two ways you can go about getting this deal. You can either go to audibletrial.com/polititainment, and you can sign up there and get your free audiobook. Yes, even the new releases. Or you can head over to polititainment.net and click our little banner that will send you to Audible. Those are two ways, and since you're going to be at polititainment.net anyway, voting in our "Should we legalize marijuana or not" poll, you're going to be there. You're already there. Just click the button, get signed up, and take full advantage of that deal. It really is great. It's awesome. Now, like I said earlier, life tends to get in the way. Life can sometimes be going really, really good, or it can totally freaking suck. And the last thing you want to happen is for it to suck. Nobody wakes up thinking they're going to go for a bike ride and get hit by a car. Nobody goes out with the intent of going fishing with your buddies and falling out of the boat. Some of that stuff would be funny as hell, but some of it would just be life getting in the way. And really, that's what happens day in and day out. It could be losing your internet connection, or losing your phone and not being able to stay caught up on your Twitter feed. I came across a story earlier today that I thought was funny as hell. It was absolutely hysterical. Every time I watched this video, I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. This was a video about it was somewhere over in England, and what was happening was there was a bicycle race. It was one of those road races where it kind of like the Tour de France, but it wasn't part of that tour. This was just one of those bike races. But it had the cops and the people that stop on the side of the road, all that good stuff. But things kind of tend to get in the way. How so? Well, imagine this. You are a bike rider. You're cruising. I mean, you can see the lead guy. He is like less than an eighth of a mile ahead of you. And between you and that guy, there's like 15, 20, 30 guys in front of you. And you come around the corner and you approach a set of train tracks. And the little arms start coming down. Well, there's a cop right next to you and the pack that you're riding with, and some people just jump forward. They jump across the tracks and decide that they're going to beat the train. You, being the safety-conscious person, decide you are going to stop. A bunch of other people behind you stop. Next thing you know, this train that is capable of cruising at about 200 miles an hour just whips by in front of you, and it could have just bounced you off like a ping pong ball. And now, the people that were behind you for half a mile to 3/4 of a mile, guess what happens? They're now all bunched up at the edge of the tracks, waiting for the arms to go up so you can continue the race. Life tends to get in the way. You really don't know what could happen when you go around that corner. You've just kind of got to be prepared, and it happens to all of us. It really does. But the only thing you can do is pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and press forward. I can tell that we're up on our last break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some stuff that happened today in history, and then a little something that somebody was really, really stupid, and we're going to make fun of them. So we'll do that when we come back from break. Be right back.
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level, or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com.
Hey everybody, this is Jason, host of According to Me. I'd like to invite you to check out my show. It's a 2-hour show that lasts 60 minutes and...
listen, I hate to interrupt, but one thing I can do is read off a script. Just say, let me be clear a lot. It works.
President Obama, I can handle this. It's a radio promo. I'm not green. I've done this before.
Did someone say green?
Now, Al Gore is here. Listen, I'm just trying to record a radio promo. Do you mind?
Now, do you say good things about me on the show?
No, not at all. But if it makes you feel any better, I rip on Republicans just as much.
The AM radio frequencies give off very high levels of radiation.
Look, my show is on the internet, which you invented. Can I just do my promo?
I got a pen. I can veto that, you know.
I know you got a pen. It's not a law. It's a radio promo. Listen, just listen to my show. Barack Obama and Al Gore hate it, so you're going to love it.
Here's an executive order. Don't listen to his show. He doesn't like me. He's racist. And he doesn't recycle either.
That's it. I'm done. It's According to Me, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here. We've done the research. He is the long-lost brother of Flava Flav. The Stafford Voice, boy!
All right, we are back. I am your host, Daniel Stafford, and one of my favorite things to do is dig through history. It really doesn't matter what time period, per se. I mean, I enjoy it all. I love just soaking up information. And I don't know if you knew this, but on this day in history, some dude was born back in 1743. We kind of talked about him earlier. Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was born on this day in 1743. And believe it or not, he wrote his own epitaph. And he only wanted to be remembered for 3 things, which I find really fascinating. The 3 things he wanted to be known for. If you start at the bottom of the list, it was that he wanted to be known for being the father of the University of Virginia. The other one, I'm going to do some more digging into this one. It was the Statute of Virginia for religious freedom. I'm actually working on trying to put together a little something about religious freedom. And so I'm really excited about jumping into that one. I totally, I mean, it either spaced my mind or I had no idea, one of the two. And the other thing that he was famous for, that he wanted to be known for, was being the author of the Declaration of Independence. Of all the accomplishments and the things that he had done in his life, those were the only 3 things. I just find that fascinating. Also, on this day in history, 1970, a few days after the launch of Apollo 13, the oxygen tank had exploded. I think it was either 2 or 3 days. 2 or 3 days goes by, and the oxygen tank exploded. I mean, we've all seen the movie Apollo 13, so we all kind of know... We all know what happened, but I think we kind of forget about those things because we've tried to make them so mainstream that we may have forgotten some of that stuff. And it's just those tiny little nuggets of information that you sometimes find really, really interesting. I would have never guessed that today was the day the oxygen tanks on Apollo 13 exploded. I probably would have known today was Jefferson's birthday only because it's on my calendar. But sometimes you forget about these things, and they just they tend to get lost. And the last thing we need to do is forget, because if you forget, you're not able to, military term, you're not able to really adjust fire for tomorrow. You can't go back in the past and fix everything. What you can do is learn from it and go forward. And I think that's really what we need to take away from history. History is doomed to repeat itself. I mean, we've been warned by statesmen like Thomas Jefferson, who warned us on elective despotism, that there are going to be people out there that just want to buy their way into office, or they think that they're entitled to. They are the next big thing. So, sorry, it's just my mind was wandering about that, and again, I really enjoy history. It's fun. It's like it's a time warp, if you will, that you're able to travel back in time, and if you've got a real vivid imagination, you're kind of able to you try and imagine what the rooms smelled like, or you tried to picture the lighting in the room or stuff like that. I mean, that's what happens to me. It's like a road trip. Not the type of road trip that Hillary Clinton is on. I would not want to be on the Magic School Bus ride with her. That would be freaky. But if you really want to take a ride, what if you tried to live on food stamps for a week? Yeah, this bimbo. I don't have a sound audio of her saying that, but this is our Who Said That moment, where somebody out there has said or done something so stupid that we've got to talk about it, and we've got to highlight it. Because this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where Hillary Clinton is trying to come across as middle class. She thinks that she can connect, and that people will connect with her. And the whole idea of this is incredibly stupid. It really is. Here you've got a multi-millionaire who is announcing that she is going to live on food stamps for 1 week. 1 week. Seriously, lady? This is none other than Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow thinks that she's going to live on food stamps for a week. Now, this isn't traditional food stamps where you go in and you hand the clerk you swipe your Snap card, and you spent your $29 for the week at the grocery. Excuse me. You spent your $29 at the grocery store, and you leave with some eggs and some kale and some limes and some cilantro and rice and beans. And she's so removed from reality that the people on food stamps, they don't eat that kind of crap. They're not, sorry Sam, but they're not bunnies. They're not rabbits. They don't eat frickin' lettuce all day long. They don't go out and buy one onion and one sweet potato and one jalapeno. This broad thinks that she's going to live on that the $29 she spent at the grocery store is a good idea. And then she follows it up 5 minutes later with another tweet that says, "We're walking in their shoes to see how far we get." And then the idea is to nominate somebody else to do this challenge. Now, personally, I can live off $29 worth of food. That's like a camp out for me, a week-long backpacking trip. $29 worth of food, hell yeah, I can handle that. But, okay, if you really wanted to walk in their shoes, Gwyneth, then what you need to do is you need to go bunk it up with them. Go live with them for a week. Put down your sparkly sequin bedazzled dress. You don't need to go on a red carpet display. What you need to do is go shopping with one of them. You need to go live it up in the laugh of, in luxury like they do. See how they live. You really want to walk in their shoes, Gwyneth? Why don't you get out of your multi-million-dollar penthouse suite or your multi-million-dollar house and go live with them for a little bit? And what the hell is this 1 week crap? Try it for a month. Why don't you go live like the rest of us for a little bit? Maybe you'd have a little more appreciation for all of your stuff. She's so far removed from reality. The fact that she is so stuck on herself, she doesn't care about whether she's able to do it on $29 a week for food. She could care less. This is all about publicity. She only cares about one person, and that's herself. And getting her name into the news. And if that's really what all this is about, then shame on her. She's a friggin' loser. These people have had so many things catered to them. And the fact that you want to kind of throw something like this in a food stamp in a lower class, someone who is there, of all of the millions of people out there who are on food stamps, a very, very small percentage of them are mooching the system. The majority of them really do need a little bit of help, and they try. The fact that you can't put yourself aside long enough to really suffer like the rest of the world, you're so damn far removed, just like Hillary Clinton. It's ridiculous. Something else that I find ridiculous is, and this kind of falls in line with that, so many people don't realize how good they have it until they don't have anything at all. If you've got $1 million homes, or you've got rental properties, and yet you can't afford to give other people the things that they're looking for, shame on you. You really need a wake-up call. Get off your high horse and go do something with your time. Go do something better with your money. You don't need to live it up and spend it all on yourself. You don't need a challenge of... You don't need a $29 food stamp challenge. Absolutely ridiculous. It really is. He's so far removed from reality. It's sad. It really is. But, you know, you go back to Hillary Clinton. She's been vetted. She's been vetted so many times. And yet she hasn't done anything. How many people's lives have been lost because of her failed Secretary of State, of her failed actions as Secretary of State? How many? We could name at least 4 or 5, right? We don't need Washington elitists. That was the very thing that Thomas Jefferson was warning about. Was Washington elitists. These people we send to Washington are supposed to come, they're supposed to be our neighbors. They are supposed to be a voice within the community, speaking to a larger group. And that larger group has a representative that goes and does the same thing, speaks to an even larger group. That's what it was all about. It wasn't about making sure that our family name, that it's our family's duty to be elected to office. Look, the first Bush, he was so-so. The second one, he was so-so. If we get a third one, old Jebby Jeb, that's the last thing we need. Does he have any accomplishments? Same with Hillary Clinton. Any accomplishments? Joe Biden? Horseface Carey? Ted Cruz? There's a guy that's actually done something. Goes out, listens to the people, goes back to Washington, and stands up. You go to Hillary Clinton's website. What do you see? You don't find anything about policy. Of course, we all know what her policy is. It's an empty page. There's nothing on there that talks about what she stands for or what she believes. I mean, the grandma-in-chief, if she was to get elected, this grandmother-in-chief, is she going to continue along with the Democrats and be okay with abortion? And champion abortion rights? Oh, that would be so awesome. Grandma-in-chief is pro-abortion. She's pro-murder. Pro-choice. I guess that would be the politically correct. We want to be pro-choice. Never mind the fact you're killing someone. Nah, you don't want to worry about that. Because, after all, she's a grandmother, and she's just like one of you. She's just like me. She understands what it's like. She ain't no way tired. I personally think she needs to lay down, take some medication, and take a long nap. And wake up a little rested and realize Nobody wants her around. Nobody. Nobody wants Jeb Bush around. Nobody wants Krispy Kreme around. I mean, I like Krispy Kreme donuts, but I'm not big on Krispy Kreme Christy. But, yeah, I like donuts. I don't know, maybe he likes them more than I do. But, you know what? I want somebody who has a record of fighting for me. I want somebody that has a record of fighting for you. I want somebody that's willing to stare down the barrel of Washington and say, enough is enough. Because the last thing we need is another Bush in office or another Clinton in office. A time for choosing. A few years ago, I say a few, it was 20 or so years ago, when Reagan gave this speech called A Time for Choosing. Maybe that was just a prophetic message that we need to wrap our minds around today. This is a time for choosing. Are we okay with the status quo? Are we okay with continuing down the same path? Are we okay with giving our children or our grandchildren a worse off country than how we found it? Or do we want to change things in Washington? And continue being that shining city on a hill? I don't know about you, but I know what I want to see. I want that light to continue to shine, and shine brighter than it ever has. And together, we can do it. As long as we make sure we are vigilant and do not vote these same people back into office that got us where we are today. Now, based off the sound of the music in the background, I can tell that we are out of time. And that is all we've got for this week, and God willing, the Stafford Voice, I, your host, Daniel Stafford, will be back next week. You can follow me on Twitter at Stafford Voice, or you can look me up on Facebook by searching for the Stafford Voice. Email any of your questions or comments to daniel@pulitainment.net. Thank you so much for your time. Until next week, thanks and God bless.